Welcome. Today I'm going to show you how to replace your old fart fan with a brand new MaxxFan. All right, so one of the first things you want to do is measure your opening. Generally it's going to be about 14¼ inches by 14¼ We have a perfect square, but you always want to make sure and never assume. Once you've confirmed that your vent is the correct size, next we're going to head back down and start the removal process. First step is going to be to disconnect your 12-volt power, so we're simply going to remove from the negative terminal. With the 12-volt power disconnected, now it is time to start the removal of the old fan. The first step is to remove the interior trim ring. Now, a couple things to bear in mind. One is the fact because we don't have 12-volt power, it might be a little dark, so you might need a flashlight. Two, you want to make sure you're using the right bit. It is pretty common if this came from an RV manufacturer to use a square number 2 bit, which is what we have here. And so we're simply going to remove all 4 of these screws and remove this interior trim ring. With the trim ring removed, our wiring is now exposed. We have already gone ahead and marked the positive side. So when we hook up the new one, we are making sure we're hooking up the correct polarity. If you're not sure which is positive, which is negative, you'll want to quickly reconnect your battery, use a voltmeter to figure out polarity, and then you can disconnect your battery and continue on from there. All right, so as you can see, the positive is clearly marked with a piece of tape there, and then we're just going to uncrimp these fittings. Should allow us to take those off, and then we'll climb up on the roof. All right, with the electrical from the fan disconnected, now it is time to remove all the old sealant so we can access the screws and remove the vent fan. In order to do so, because we're working on a rubber roof, we're going to use a plastic putty knife. We're going to start kind of right here at the edge where we have the metal base and start to work our way backward all the way around, taking extreme caution to make sure we're not tearing our roof. With the majority of the sealant removed from the vent and our screw holes exposed, looks like this is a square number 2 bit, so we are going to use that and remove the screws and pull the vent out. Then we'll do a little more cleanup. All right, and now we have it all cleaned up. Again, as you saw, I recruited Tucker's aid. The whole process from removing all the sealant, taking the vent out, cleaning everything up, just so you're aware, with 2 of us was a little over an hour. So you will want to kind of keep that in mind if it's going to be just a 1-person operation, because this is going to be a fairly laborious part here. But once it is cleaned up like we have it now, you will then take your roof receiving flange, which is this piece. You're actually just going to place it in the opening right here. You want your metal clips on the sides. Then we're going to trace an outline. And what that outline will do is let us know basically a border of where we're going to put the sealant, because we want to put sealant down before we place the roof receiving flange in. Once the sealant's in there, we'll then put the flange down again, making sure the clips are on the side, and then we can screw it down. Okay, with the roof receiving flange properly in place, now we're going to go around. Because we're going to have different screw holes, we're actually going to make some quick pilot holes, and then we'll come all the way around and screw her in. With the roof receiver flange down, next we're going to just take some sealant and cover up all these screw heads, making sure that we seal those. Then we're going to do the same thing around the perimeter, just making sure that the whole vent is nice and watertight. All right, it's also very important when we're using a sealant on the rooftop that we're using a self-leveling lap sealant. That way when we put it on there, it will level itself out, filling in any voids and gaps. And so we have it on there. We're just gonna give it a little bit of time to cure, and then we'll be back and move on. And now we're gonna hook up the electrical. So if you recall, we marked our positive with black tape. So we're gonna take the positive, which MaxxAir was kind enough to mark here, and we are going to connect them. Now, it came with some blade connectors, and they're fine. You can absolutely use them. I just found that with the wires that were already in this RV, it was kind of thick for that connector, so we're just going to use this crimp fitting here. So we're going to put these in there, and then we're going to crimp it down. All right, with our electrical hooked up, now it is time to install the fan. So all we're gonna do is we're gonna take these 4 holes, put them on the 4 clips, but when we install this, we wanna make sure that the wires are tucked away so it doesn't get stuck on the flange. So we're gonna put it on just like so, and then we'll have 4 stainless steel screws left. It will not be the ones that are painted white, but stainless steel. We're just gonna screw them in those 4 holes and then head down and in. All right, with our fan in place and our electrical tucked out of the way, the next step is going to be to take a measurement for our internal trim ring. So what we're gonna wanna do is actually measure at all 4 corners from the ceiling height here up to the fan. So you can see here we're about 4 inches, and actually pretty similar there, but we're gonna do that on all 4 corners. And then we're going to mark it on the 4 corners of the trim ring, draw a line across, make our appropriate cuts, making sure that you leave about a 1/2 inch to 3/4 of an inch more than your measurement so that there's a little bit extra to slide up in there, and then we'll just screw it into place. So we made our adjustment there, and now we're gonna make our cuts. And there you have it, folks. The MaxxAir fan is installed. As you saw, it's a pretty straightforward process, but it is a fairly lengthy one. It'll take you a couple hours and definitely a lot of elbow grease removing that sealant from the old vent fan. If it's not something that you want to do yourself, you can always bring it into a dealership and have it installed for you. Otherwise, hopefully this video helped you DIY it. Now, for the moment of truth. Until next time, we'll see you.